Welcome boys and girls from YouTube. My name is Sloth, this is the SlothForge and thanks for stopping by on today's video. Now today we have finally access to the Endgame content, and from now on we have 10 days or 11 days to fight against the Resurgent Dragon. And the Resurgent Dragon is very strong. There is a lot of not this hero, but this boss. He can do a lot of different things and he is very annoying. So building teams for this boss is not that easy. So before I will show you my teams, which I will show you in another video, in this video I just want to talk about some different strategies that you could use and give you a real quick overview of this boss, of the Resurgent Dragon, of his skills, and as I said, some strategies that you could try to use, that you could try to play around with a little bit. But first, let's talk about those rewards real quick, because those rewards are very good. Not those rewards, I'm sorry. First, the server-wide damage ranking. This means just this is your whole server's damage, and the more damage the players on your server will deal, the more progress you will earn here. And I'm very confident that all of your servers will reach the 100% just because I know that from the very active servers, those servers reached the top chest on the first day. So I'm very confident that most or all of you will reach or will get access to all of those 4 chests. And every single one of those chests contains 1 Master Scroll. So this is very nice. In general, those Master Scrolls are very rare and also extremely useful and important. Also, they are very expensive as well. They cost like 450 Worm Arrow, and we don't get so many Master Scrolls. We get some, but we don't get a lot. So already 4 Master Scrolls for free from those server-wide damage chests is very nice. But we get more of those Master Scrolls. Now, we get 10 Master Pages for every single time that we reach the 140 million damage number on or against the Resurgent Dragon. And we can attack the Resurgent Dragon up to 6 times a day. So this means you can get up to 60 Master Pages every single day as well. And since we can attack the Resurgent Dragon for another 10 days, this means that we can overall get up to 16 Master Scrolls for free, which is very nice. I really like that we get so many Master Scrolls now in the final part of the first season, because those Master Scrolls, as I said, they are rare and also extremely useful, especially for Season 2, where we will get a lot of new heroes. We really want some Master Scrolls to scroll up our new heroes as soon as possible. So I really like those rewards, they are very generous. But now, let's talk about the boss, because those rewards are very good, but there's a reason why those rewards are so good. It's because the boss is very strong. And I'm not sure if it is so easy to reach 4 teams with each 140 million. So I'm very interested on what teams people will come up with. But now, let's keep this around in the background while we talk about his skills. Now, his first 2 skills are very simple, nothing special here. He deals AoE damage and inflicts some stacks of burn. Now, he does a lot of damage, and especially those burn stacks deal a lot of damage as well. But this is not what makes this boss so frightening. It's the Talon Strike, or not only the Talon Strike, but the Talon Strike is one of those very annoying skills. First, he once again deals a little bit of AoE damage, and then he dispels one of your buffs. Now, he only dispels 1 buff, which is not that much, honestly, but then if there are 2 or less buffs left on your heroes, then he gets a defense up buff. And we really don't like to see defense up on bosses when we want to deal as much damage as possible, because the defense up buff provides 60% additional defense. So yeah, you can see where this goes. Yeah, we deal way less damage if this defense up buff is up. So we try to avoid this buff as good as possible, and there are some different strategies. First, you could build your whole team with a lot of resistance, but you need a lot of resistance. Like, you need 330 resistance on every single one of your heroes, or at least on 4 of your 5 heroes, so then you will resist his cleanse or his dispel. But acquiring so much resistance is very hard. Even with all those buffs, it is still extremely hard to acquire 330 resistance without losing too many other stats. Because you could, of course, build your heroes with so much resistance, but then you will lose a lot of defensive stats or offensive stats on your damage dealers. And we don't want this. So I would not recommend to build your team with high resistance, but there are other ways. You could also just bring as many buffs as possible. You could bring 4 different buffs, so every single time that he dispels 1 buff, there are still at least 3 buffs on all your heroes, then he will also not place the defense up. But to bring heroes with so many different buffs is not that easy as well. And then you also have to perfectly time all your heroes that place all those different buffs, which is not that easy as well, and I would not recommend to do so. The probably easiest strategy to avoid the defense up buff is just to bring someone with the buff prohibition. Now in this team I'm using Boris to bring the buff prohibition, and he always uses, or most of the time, he uses a skill so that his buff prohibition is up and he does not place the defense up on himself. But we will talk about the rotation in just a minute, because as you already can see here, he has 5 skills, and all of those skills have a 6-second cooldown, so this means that we have a 30-second rotation, which is very hard. This is very new for us, so building a rotation or perfectly synced team for a 30-second rotation is extremely hard, because either you go very slow on all your heroes and recast time them with 30 seconds, or you try to recast them with a 15 seconds cooldown, which is nearly impossible. You really need the perfect inspiration gear and a lot of skill haste as well to hit a 15 seconds recast time. So yeah, and there is another reason why this is extremely hard. Inspiration set is countered. It is not that useful for this dungeon. Now it is useful, but it does not work as intended because of his passive. But we will talk about his passive in just a second. First, let's talk about his other 2 skills really quick. On his 4th skill, he will just deal once again a lot of damage and then places or inflicts attack penalty on all your heroes. And it is just the same with attack penalty like with defense up. We don't like to see this buff because we will deal way less damage if he has the attack penalty or if he inflicts the attack penalty on our heroes. And it is also up for 30 seconds. So another reason why it is very recommended to bring someone who can cleanse your debuffs. So there are some heroes that are good at cleansing debuffs. So if you have one, you could absolutely consider to use this hero for the Resurgent Dragon. And then his final skill, which is very strong as well and extremely annoying. First, he deals a lot of damage, and then there are those Power of Dragon Rage stacks. Now let's just call them Dragon Rage, because it is a way too long word in my opinion. So those Dragon Rage stacks. And there are 2 different ways of what happens after, or 2 different outcomes, what happens after he uses his ultimate. First, if he has no Dragon Rage stacks, then he will enter the weakened stage for 3 seconds, and while he is in the stage, what you can see right now, right here, is when he's laying on the ground, then he gets 50% more damage, does not recharge his ultimate energy, and this is only up for 3 seconds. So you can deal a little bit more damage, but it is actually not that impactful. Even though, still it helps, of course, a little bit. 50% more damage, absolutely take it. But he only will enter the weakened stage if he has no Power of Dragon Rage once he uses his ultimate. If he has some Power of Dragon Rage left, then instead he will cleanse all debuffs on himself. So all your defense up, defense down debuffs, attack penalty debuffs, buff prohibition, whatever, he will cleanse all of those buffs if he has 1 or more Dragon Rage stacks left. So extremely annoying. And then, after that, he will regain 8 stacks of Dragon Rage. So now these are his 5 skills. But now let's talk about his passive, because his passive is also extremely annoying And it is also important to keep this in mind, because now we know that we want to cleanse those Dragon Rage stacks, but how do we do so? It is relatively easy. We have to bring heroes that either apply ultimate up or ultimate down. Now, there are not that many heroes that trigger ultimate down or ultimate up, but there are still some different ways to trigger this. And one of the probably most used ways to trigger ultimate up is the inspiration set, the Puppeteer's inspiration set. So this is why I said that it does not work like intended. It works like intended, but it gets countered. It just, no, what is the word that they are using? It will be nullified. Yes, so instead of increasing your team's ultimate energy by 20%, it will just be nullified. And instead, for every single attempt to improve or to give you ultimate up, instead it will remove one of those Dragon Rage stacks. So this is how you try to decrease his Dragon Rage stacks. Bring some heroes that inflict ultimate up or ultimate down. Or bring 2 heroes in the inspiration set. But if you use 2 heroes in the inspiration set, keep in mind that there is a 15 seconds cooldown between the inspiration triggers, so you cannot just use those heroes in inspiration set back to back. Then it will only remove 5 of those 8 Dragon Rage stacks. If you want to remove all of those 8 stacks within one rotation, you need to use a 15 seconds difference on the recast timer on your 2 Puppeteer's inspiration heroes. So I would recommend to use at least 1 Puppeteer's inspiration set. But I've been trying around with many different teams already, many different strategies. And right now in this team, I'm using 2 heroes in the Puppeteer's inspiration set. My Tauren and my Ursulas. And this is not the perfect solution yet, but at least it helps me to deal a little bit more damage than with other sets. But as I said, this is definitely not the perfect strategy. I'm very sure that we will find some better solutions to keep his Dragon Rage stacks down. And let me show you some ideas that you could use to keep his Dragon Rage stacks down. First, there are some very useful talents, and one of those talents is the double advantage. Many supports, or most supports that have advantage or that have access, to negative effects, also have access to the double advantage talent. And this just means every single time that you inflict a negative effect, you reduce the ultimate energy by 5%. So it is only 5%, this is not that much, but if you use this talent on a hero that inflicts a lot of negative effects, you will always, instead of reducing the ultimate energy, remove one of those Dragon Rage stacks. It is not much, but especially if you bring 2 heroes or more with the double advantage talent, then this is very reliable as well. Now, if you have 2 heroes in the double advantage set and 1 hero in the inspiration set, double advantage talent and the inspiration set, then this should be enough to remove his 8 stacks before he casts his ultimate. But also keep in mind, this is also what makes it so hard to perfectly sync or perfectly tune a team for this boss. If he, for instance, if he has 4 stacks left, 4 stacks of Dragon Rage, and you trigger your inspiration set, and he only has 4 stacks left, but you have 5 heroes of the same element in your team, then 4 of the stacks will be removed, and then 1 random hero in your team will get the inspiration boost. So this is why it makes it so hard to perfectly sync a team for the Resurgent Dragon. And now let me check this real quick if I forgot to mention anything. I'm absolutely sure that I forgot to mention some things. But yeah, probably one of the best tips actually is to use some heroes with this double advantage talent. Now, I just realized that I'm not even using it, which is weird. I'm not sure why. Yeah, this is only for this particular team. And I will showcase this team in another video that I will publish in the next couple of hours probably. But I will try to build at least 1 or 2 additional teams before I will show you this team in depth, but I can already show you those heroes really quick. Show you their talents, their gear, so you have an idea. But this team is not that strong, honestly, as you saw it. The best that this team did was 350 million, which is nice for sure, but I think there is way more room for improvement. Those are the first cast and recast timers that I'm using right now. And as I said, I'm not sure if those are the perfect timings. I'm quite sure there are better timings. But it is very, very hard to perfectly sync a team for this boss. So especially when it comes to poison teams, for example, I'm very interested in how this will work. But we will see. Only time will tell. Now, let me look at my notes real quick. If I forget to mention something. Now, of course, there are a lot of heroes that now I could talk a bit more in depth about that are very strong. As I said, just in general, all those heroes that have access to the double advantage talent will be very useful. Also, for example, I think Ogok will be extremely strong as well, because he can dispel a lot of debuffs on your team, while also heal for a very good amount, keep you immortal, and also places attack penalty. So I think Ogok will be very strong for this boss. But as I said, there are a lot of heroes that now we could talk about. So let's keep this for the other video. In this video only, I want to give you a really quick overview of the boss. And I just realized that there is the Snow Feather Elf, which I did not talk about, but he's very useful. He's very strong. He gives you a little bit of some shields, a little bit of additional damage thanks to the weaken that he inflicts as well. And also he gives you a little bit of an DPS buff as well. But you cannot use this for your advantage as far as I'm aware of. You cannot boost the Snow Feather Elf to give him a faster rotation or something. I also tried many different skill timings. I tried to perfectly sync my team with only one big burst every single rotation. But if you do it like this, you will lose too much damage, because then you need to use a 30 seconds recast timer, and this is just too long. Your heroes will hit way less ultimates and so on. So I would highly recommend to not go with a 30 seconds recast timer. Instead, try your heroes with probably a default recast timer, or as I did here in this team, try to at least time your heroes a little bit so that your defense down hero will hit his defense down before your main DPS. But even here, as you can see, I'm using my Varish on full default because it deals a little bit more damage if I use him on full default. Instead, I could also use him like this. As you can see now, he inflicts the buff prohibition and the defense down right before the boss places the defense up on himself. And then I have a recast timer of 30 seconds. But this will cost me a lot of damage. And, oh, by the way, probably a better recast timing is 31.5 seconds, because sometimes he will get into the weakened stage and then the boss rotation will be 33 seconds. Sometimes he will not enter the weakened stage, then his rotation is 30 seconds. So for me, it works best if I use a 31.5 recast timer. But as I said, in general, I would not recommend to do so. You just lose too much damage. So this is why as I said, I'm still trying around. I try to find a solution. There are for sure some extremely strong teams, and for sure there are stronger teams than this. As you can see, it's a little bit less damage. Now, I did up to 350 million damage with a default timed Varish, while 330, 335 is the best that I can do with this 17 and 31.5 seconds recast timer. But now, I digress a little bit. And as I said, I just want to give you some ideas for strategies that you could use for some teams. I will try to build some teams ASAP. I will try to build some free-to-play friendly teams as well, and make a video about them very soon, probably today or tomorrow. So stay tuned for future content, and thanks for stopping by. I hope it was helpful for you. And if you have any strategies that you are using that you want to add or that you want to share in general, feel free to comment below. As always, we are very interested in your opinion. But that's it for today's video. Thanks for stopping by and see you in the next one.